Uncle Gutenberg was a bookworm, and he lived on Charing Cross. The memory of his volumes brings a smile. He would read me lots of stories when he wasn't on the source. Now I'd like to share the wisdom of my favourite bibliophile. He said, cover is not the book, so open it up and take a look. 'Cause under the covers one discovers that the king may be a crook. Chapter titles are like signs, and if you read between the lines, you'll find your first impression was mistook. For a cover is nice, but a cover is not the book. Zeroo-ready-ta-rat-ta-ta, zeroo-ready-ta-rat-ta-ta. Nelly Rubina was made of wood, though what could not be seen was though her trunk up top was barren. Well, her roots were lush and green. So in spring, when Mr. Hickory saw her blossoms blooming there, he took root despite her bark, and now there's seedlings everywhere. Which proves a cover is not the book, so open it up and take a look. 'Cause under the covers one discovers that the king may be a crook. Chapter titles are like signs, and if you read between the lines, you'll find your first impression was mistook. For a cover is nice, but a cover is not the book.
Once upon a time in a nursery rhyme there was a castle with a king hiding in a wing. 'Cause he never went to school to learn a single thing. He had scepters and swords and a parliament of lords, but on the inside he was sad, eager.
Because he never had a wisdom for numbers, or wisdom for words.
His crown was quite immense, his brain was smaller than a bird. So the queen of the nation made a royal proclamation to the misses and the messes, the more or lesses. Bring me all the land's professors, and she went to the hairdressers.
And they came from the east, and they came from the south.
From each college they poured knowledge from his brain into his mouth.
But the king couldn't learn, so each professor met their fate. For the queen had their heads removed and placed upon the gate. And on that date,
I state the wives all got a note their mate was now the late great.
but suddenly one day a stranger started in to sing.
He said, I'm the dirty rascal, I'm here to teach the king.
And the queen clutched her jewels, for she hated royal fools.
But this fool had some rules they really ought to teach in schools.
Uncle Gutenberg was a bookworm, and he lived on Charing Cross. The memory of his volumes brings a smile. He would read me lots of stories when he wasn't on the source. Now I'd like to share the wisdom of my favourite bibliophile. He said, cover is not the book, so open it up and take a look. 'Cause under the covers one discovers that the king may be a crook. Chapter titles are like signs, and if you read between the lines, you'll find your first impression was mistook. For a cover is nice, but a cover is not the book. Zeroo-ready-ta-rat-ta-ta, zeroo-ready-ta-rat-ta-ta. Nelly Rubina was made of wood, though what could not be seen was though her trunk up top was barren. Well, her roots were lush and green. So in spring, when Mr. Hickory saw her blossoms blooming there, he took root despite her bark, and now there's seedlings everywhere. Which proves a cover is not the book, so open it up and take a look. 'Cause under the covers one discovers that the king may be a crook. Chapter titles are like signs, and if you read between the lines, you'll find your first impression was mistook. For a cover is nice, but a cover is not the book.
Once upon a time in a nursery rhyme there was a castle with a king hiding in a wing. Because he never went to school to learn a single thing. He had sceptres and swords and a parliament of lords, but on the inside he was sad, glad, because he never had a wisdom for numbers, a wisdom for words.
But his crown was quite immense, his brain was smaller than a bird. So a queen of a nation made a royal proclamation
To the misses and the messes, the more or lesses, bring me all the land's professors. Then she went to the hairdressers.
And they came from the east and they came from the south, from each college they put knowledge from their brains into his mouth.
But the king couldn't learn till each professor met their fate, for the queen had their heads removed and placed upon the gate.
And on that day, I state their wives all got a note that it was now the late great.
Then suddenly one day his son just started in to sing. He said, I'm the dirty rascal and I'm here to teach a king. So the queen clutched her jaws, for she hated all fools, but this fool had some rules they really ought to teach schools.